Hello, and welcome to Inside Outlook. I'm Jeff Havers, Superintendent of Pemberton Township Schools. As many of you know, this has been a challenging year for school bus transportation departments, and Pemberton was no exception. Like much of the country, we face a critical shortage of bus drivers, making it extremely challenging to meet the busing needs of our nearly 4,700 students. By attending job fairs, marketing online and social media, and offering incentive bonuses, we were able to recruit and hire additional drivers. But at the same time, we still experienced a loss of personnel due to resignations and retirements. And while our bus drivers have done a great job of taking on extra routes, adjusting their schedules, and going above and beyond to ensure the safe transport of our students, many of the issues that complicate our busing schedules remain. To meet the transportation challenges that will continue to confront us next year, we are proposing a shift in some school start and end times. And here to discuss this proposal is our Business Administrator, Dan Smith. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Smith, can you start by telling us some busing issues we face right now?
Sure. So the biggest issue we're facing is that our Tier 2, which is our Denbo, Crichton, Stackhouse, Helen Fort, Newcomb, and Fort Dix runs, is overloaded. So we're currently short drivers for that tier. So that's a major issue that we're trying to work with. Also, in addition to that, we have, as you mentioned, been able to hire some new bus drivers, but unfortunately, we're still not at a point where we have a sufficient number of drivers on staff. Because of the shortage, we've had to create double backs, mostly at our middle school level, which has created an issue with students getting to school on time, loss of instructional time, and also issues getting students home in the afternoon after the school day ends.
And Mr. Smith, can you tell us about our busing needs right now with the various tiers that we have and how many drivers that we have currently?
Yes, so Tier 1 and Tier 3 are not that bad. We have sufficient drivers to meet those needs. Our issue is in Tier 2. So currently, our routes require 38 drivers to complete Tier 2 in a timely manner. We only have 34 drivers available to us for that tier, and that has caused us to create the double backs that we spoke about. So that's been our major issue that we've been trying to tackle throughout this school year.
So we are already starting off every day with the need for 38 bus runs with only 34 drivers. So we have 4 double backs, but then like in any field, any occupation, we're not going to have 100% attendance rate. So if we have 1, 2, 3 bus drivers out, now we create additional double backs and additional challenges for our students. Is that accurate?
That is correct. Yes, that is a major challenge that we're facing this year.
And what other factors did you have to analyze when looking at possible adjustments for next year to improve our transportation?
Well, we looked at our secondary level and our elementary level. So on the secondary side, we have to consider athletics, extracurricular activities. We also want to make sure that our secondary students arrive home prior to their elementary siblings. We also looked at maintaining the link between the Denbo Crichton School and the Stackhouse schools because we do have siblings attending both schools, so we want to keep those 2 schools on the same time schedule.
Now, last night you presented to the Board of Education the proposed new start and end times. Can you give us those new start and end times, the proposal, and also explain how that changes the busing needs and the amount of routes that we have for each tier?
Sure. So in the proposal that we presented last night, we have no changes at the high school, Helen Fort Middle School, Newcomb Middle School, or Fort Dix Elementary School. So those schools will remain the same as they currently are. We also had to consider other schools such as BCIT and Burlington County Special Services School District. Even though we don't run those schools, we have to be cognizant of their start and end times because we do have to bus students to those facilities. So we proposed that we would take the Emmons and Byzanski schools and swap them with the Denbo, Crichton, and Stackhouse schools. So Emmons Byzanski would go to Tier 2, which would be an 8 a.m. start time. Denbo, Crichton, and Stackhouse would go to Tier 3, which would be 9 a.m. This really helps alleviate the driver shortage on Tier 2. So we went from 38 drivers needed in our current schedule to 28 in our proposed schedule. So that allows us to free up additional drivers on that Tier 2 to cover absences and things like that as we move into the next school year.
And my understanding is if it frees up some drivers, it can help cover absences, and hopefully also we can create a few extra routes that maybe will decrease the amount of students on the buses and make our routes even more efficient and possibly shorter for our students.
Correct. So that would be our goal. We would look at the overloaded runs. We would look at runs that are extended time. We would maintain a couple drivers if we can as standby drivers, so they would fill in for absences. And it also would benefit us to have those drivers on hand so that as things pop up after the school year begins, we have the available resources to accommodate any changes that we may need to make, whether students move into the district, move out, whatever the case is.
Correct. So I know we don't take schedule changes very lightly. I know you're a parent, you have kids, I have children, and we know that a schedule change of an hour definitely has an impact on families. For some families, it may actually be a better thing, but for others, it will not be. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to inform people as soon as possible about that potential time change. But I also know there was a lot of factors that went into it, and this was a thorough process. Can you go into a little bit more detail about this process?
Yeah, we started with Mr. Treadway, our transportation supervisor, doing an analysis of our current routes and looking at what we have and where we could improve. We reviewed that plan with the transportation department office staff. Mr. Treadway and I went through that multiple times, reviewed it with upper administration, and we reviewed it in addition to upper administration with our Pemberton Township Bus Drivers Association leadership. So we did present our idea to them, giving them some time to think about it and provide feedback to us as well. And then we presented to the Board of Education at last night's board meeting.
Okay, and so it's presented. We have this presentation today. This will give people in the community a chance to look at the proposal. And as we discussed, this is never easy to make changes, but I believe that what I'm hearing is that it should help us make our routes more efficient. And nobody wants their kids to come to school late. Nobody wants their kids to have to spend that much time out of school waiting for a bus to pick them up. So hopefully this will make it better for all the children in our community, even though I know it's probably going to make it challenging for some of our parents.
That is correct. Looking at our current schedule, the proposal that we presented last night, we feel is ultimately the best scenario to improve our services to our students and our families. We can be sympathetic with our families because we do understand that this could cause some delays or some time issues with families. But again, this was the best scenario we could put forward. In addition to that, we're going to continue to get feedback from our administrators, from our Pemberton Township Bus Drivers Association. We'll take any feedback we get. We'll finalize our proposal at the March board meeting, and then we'll disseminate information to our parents. So one of the reasons why we started this process in February was so that when a decision was made, we could give our parents ample time to adjust for September if they need to adjust any schedules they may have outside of our school.
Absolutely. I know that there was some talk about making this change back in September, October, and trying to make it by January. And one of the things that we had talked about is let's slow down and make sure this is really going to work, and let's make sure we give parents enough time that those parents that do need to adjust, and those families that do need to adjust.
Correct. And we looked at that mid-year, and we just felt that wasn't a great idea to do that mid-year.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Now, a few reminders before we go. Parents are reminded to schedule a parent-teacher conference through the Genesis Parent Portal. Conferences take place March 8th through March 10th. And we encourage everyone to attend conferences to help build a home and school connection. Our next Board of Education meeting takes place Thursday, March 17th, with the work session. And the action meeting will take place Thursday, March 24th. All meetings begin at 6:30 p.m. and are held in the high school auditorium. That's our show for today, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Inside Outlook.